Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed. We talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. Happy New Year, you guys. The first podcast of the new year. I was going to release this episode last week, but then some crazy stuff happened, and I thought it was better to wait. So I'm excited to share this episode that I interviewed with the fabulous Shantira Jackson. She's a comedian, a writer, a performer, and all-around awesome person. Shantira and I had a great conversation. We talked about everything from high school crushes to baking to our own definition of making it, to what it's like to be in a writer's room and how she got into her first writer's room and how she started her path as a career as a TV writer. We also talk a little bit about improv community since we both come from that in Chicago. We talk about how we think COVID's going to affect artists and people's experiences with that. We talk about a whole wide gamut, and we even talk about moving, and she's got some great decluttering tips and ideas as well. It was a really fun conversation, and I can't wait for you to hear it. You can follow Shantira and find out more what's going on with her on socials. You can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Tira. That's TIRA_TIRA_TIRA. Tira. Shantira is currently writing on the Amber Rufflin Show, which you can check out on Peacock. She also wrote for the first season of Saved by the Bell, which is also on Peacock. The new Saved by the Bell is pretty awesome, and we talk about the writing process and with that in the episode as well. And she also is on Busy Phillips' podcast. She's a regular on that. Busy Phillips is doing her best. You can check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. I've known Shantira for many years, and I'm excited that things have been really blossoming for her here in LA, and I'm excited for you to listen to the podcast. Quick note, this was recorded before the very strict COVID restrictions in LA, and we did record it remotely. Hope everyone's staying safe and wearing masks, and hopefully our democracy will continue to survive. And now for an awkward transition into promo stuff. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. Also, if you want to follow me, please follow me on Instagram or Twitter. It's at Sarah Albritton. You can also check out my website if you want to find out more about me, sleepysarah.com. Easy to remember, right? Anyways, I'm so excited to get this podcast going, starting for the new year, so hope you enjoy it. Let's get started with the show. Sleeping with Sarah. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Shantira Jackson.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. How'd you sleep last night, Shantira?
Actually, I slept really well. I just moved this past weekend.
Oh.
So wait, today's Monday. I don't know when this is coming out, but I've been in my new apartment for 8 days. So
it's not that long.
No, for a week. So I slept really good last night. I don't really like clutter, and I feel like no matter how clean you are when you move, it's just boxes. It's just boxes. So it was nice to be in the bedroom and it not be completely full of boxes last night. So
that is nice. Yeah. Whenever you move, there's just boxes and stuff everywhere, but it's good because you can get rid of stuff.
Yes. Get rid of stuff. Also, I feel like when you move, you also don't eat as well as you should because I didn't want to move eggs. So I would just be I guess I'll just go get some chicken tenders from the pavilions. So now that we're in the apartment, I will be cooking more. The week up to moving is I don't want to buy a bunch of food and have to cook it before I move. So kind of been eating like trash. So ate well last night. All the boxes are pretty much unpacked. So
that's good. That's quick. What neighborhood are you living in now? Are you the same one?
Sherman Oaks.
Oh, gotcha. So you moved.
Nice. Yeah, I used to live in North Hollywood a week ago, and we just found this place that's just better.
Yeah, I mean, and now is you're getting good deals because people are leaving LA and stuff, so I totally get it.
Yeah, so this is just a better apartment, natural light, which I have not had in a while. So it's just nice.
That's awesome. Well, it's good that you're finally getting comfy there too. And the rabbit's there too, right? You got a pet.
Oh, yes, we have a rabbit. She's in the bathroom right now, thriving.
Her bathroom. Yeah, that's the spot. Is that it? That's her home?
Yeah, that's where she likes to be. She likes to be behind the toilet. I think it's because, like, rabbits are just straight up prey. So I think that it's, like, reminds her of, like, a cool hole. So it's like the porcelain's cold. Nothing's going to fly from above and eat her. So I think she just really loves to be behind the toilet.
She's like, this is my porcelain protection shield.
Really? She like sticks her little body back there and she's like, I am one.
Nice. It's been a minute since, well, obviously COVID has changed everything. But,
Yeah, everything.
But I remember when you first were coming out here, like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. And then we like went and got waffles.
Yeah. Somewhere in Silver Lake.
Yeah, somewhere. I think I got like, oh no, it was like either like a cool waffle or like one of those Japanese pancakes.
Yeah, it was like a trendy spot or whatever. It was like one of those bougie like Silver Lake spots, but it was great. It was delicious.
Yeah, it was really good. We had a good time. I don't regret it.
I know. But so much has happened in like the last 2 years for you out here. Like I feel like you moved from New York and then you like went to Florida and then you came back here, right?
Yeah. I was in New York for almost 2 years, and then I went to Tallahassee, Florida, because like New York makes me like depressed. So I was like, I don't want to be here. So I was depressed if I was like, Florida's a better option.
Yeah. If anybody picks Florida instead of where they were living, it's like, all right, that place was not the right spot for you.
Yeah, I was like, I know it will be a great place for me. Tallahassee, Florida. So I went there for like 4 months, and then I came back to LA. I got a job, which was really nice. So yeah, then I moved to LA, which I love. I love LA so much.
I do too. I like it way more than I thought. Like from Chicago, it's either like New York or LA, and it's like I'm glad I picked LA.
I love LA. I love being warm. I don't ever want to be cold again. I love all my friends are here. You're here. Like everybody can't like.
Yeah, I feel like I would be if I stayed in Chicago. I've only been here like a little over 2 years, 2.5 years. And if I'd stayed in Chicago, all my friends would have moved to LA. That's basically what happened.
Everybody moved. Like our little generation of people kind of like moved to New York or LA. Like either way, you get like half your friends in the city that you're in, which I think outside of like people never leaving their hometowns, you're not going to get like your adult friends all in the same city. People like really sporadically move around. So like we're pretty lucky that everybody we know is like either going to one of the places we're going.
Exactly. And in normal times it's just a plane ride away, but
I ain't going nowhere now. I'm happy that we moved because I wanted to be in an apartment that I really liked.
Because we're spending so much time at home?
Yeah, I really didn't like my old apartment too much because, like, it was dark. It was really small. But it was fine because I was never home. I was always out working. And then it's like the things you really compromise for when you move to a place. It was like, oh, we're never home, so it's really dark. But that's okay. When we're home, it's nighttime. I was home all day on the computer. I felt like I was, like, in a little hole, like somebody who was like in their mom's basement all day. It was dark as hell, and I was like, I'm gonna get sad. I think we might need to move.
I know. I feel this. Like I feel like that's why people in New York don't mind living in like super small apartments because they're like, I'm never home, and I'm like, I don't know how I would have handled like this situation if I lived in New York.
I fully like. I think that people give people who go back home too much guff. Like, if I was, like, when I moved to Chicago when I was 22, and I lived in a basement apartment with 3 strangers for, like, $320 a month, like, if I was in that situation when the pandemic hit, I would have gone home 100%. Yeah. Like, there's no way I would have wanted to stay in my basement apartment that was for sure probably moldy. Like, what you do when you're, like, 22? Because I was, like, out. I was seeing shows every night. I was, like, taking improv classes. I was working a million jobs, a million hours. I was like just home to change clothes. So like, I don't know if I had to be in like my starter apartment, the first apartment I ever had when I moved away from home, I don't think I could do it. I would have definitely probably gone home.
Yeah, I think I would have too, because at the time I didn't like have any furniture I really liked or anything, and
Yeah.
and home was only like 5 hours away from Chicago, so I probably would have just done that. But
Yeah.
man, now like I'm visiting my family in a upcoming this week, and like my mom's like, you could just stay through Thanksgiving, and I'm like, I like you guys, but 2 weeks is a good max,
Also, excuse me. Also, after like 2 weeks when you go home, at least for me, I feel like it's a week. It's no longer like, oh my gosh, you're home. It's like, can you go get my oil changed? Like, you're no longer like a visitor and they're excited. You're like back to being like 17-year-old. Please help me rake the yard.
No, my parents are debating whether or not they want to sell their house, and so they're going through their storage room. My mom saves everything. She has like, bins. She has like 10 different huge bins of just Christmas decorations. And she's like, you can just sell it and keep the money. I was like, no one's going to want that stuff.
Well, I also think it's like, y'all, I like watch a bunch of tiny home videos because our apartment was so small. And like one of the things I saw was like this lady like had a hard time getting rid of stuff that like her dad gave her. She was like, I do not want this dollhouse, but I don't want to get rid of it because my dad gave it to me. So she did this thing that I thought was like really powerful. She just like called her dad and she was like, hey, you bought me this. I don't think I need it anymore. Is it okay if I get rid of it? And it was so funny. Her dad was like, I haven't thought about that since I bought it for you when you were 5. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. And it was like, we attach so many emotions to things that like the people who gave them to us a lot of times do not. And I think that if your mom was like, oh, when you come home, why don't you pick like 5 that you really love and then get rid of the rest because you don't want to go through all that shit.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because now they're like redoing a couple things and my dad keeps joking that they're going to love it or list it. And I'm just like, you should just apply to be on the thing. And,
Yeah,
but
love it or list it is good.
I know. And so I just want them to stay just because it's easier.
Yeah, moving sucks. And they have a whole house. Like I moved a 1-bedroom apartment and I think about like how annoying that was. But I think about like when you live in a house, like lived in it, like I've been in apartments where I'm just like, I'm going to be here for a year. Like you have kids, like there's shit in there that you just.
You lived in it for over 10 years. Like shit accumulates like that's, I mean, I've moved once since I've been here. I've changed apartments once and I'm like, I'm probably going to stay here for a bit because I like it. It's nice. Yeah. It's sunny and near comedy venues whenever they can open up again.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like this place. I think that I'll be in this apartment until either I leave LA or like one day when I stop buying avocado toast, I can buy a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like this spot a lot. There's a pool in this apartment complex.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've never felt more like I've made it.
Well, you've done a lot. Like you've been really coming up and working on different shows. You've written on like 3 different shows now? Is that right? Yeah. 4?
Yeah. Since I've been in LA, yeah. I've been really fortunate. I've written on 3 different shows. One of the things too, like it's so funny because like you think about when you're little, like what you think you've made. Like when I get growing up, I'll know I've made it. For me, like when I was little, like we never got macadamia nuts ever. Like they were like so expensive. And I remember the first time I had them, I was like, oh my God, one day I'll just be able to buy macadamia nuts. And like I went to Trader Joe's and like they sell them. And I remember like I bought 2 packs of macadamia nuts and I was like, this is it. I've done it. There's nowhere else to go. Like, it doesn't matter what I write or what I do or what I win. I feel like I have accomplished my childhood dreams because like, if I really wanted to, I could probably finagle buying some macadamia nuts. And that was like the epitome of comeuppance when I was like 10. So like, yeah, I think that like this building having a pool is really cool. I think it's like a lot more likely to have that in LA than in New York. But
and a lot more enjoyable because you can use it year round. Like
year round, right? But macadamia nuts has been the litmus test of my career.
I love that. I think still mine is being able to go to a restaurant and not even look at the bill and never worry. You know,
I think I'll always look at the bill. I think I'll always look at it. I think I'll always have that in me to be like, let me see, y'all. Did I?
I think it's so weird that you compare it. Like going to a restaurant is so interesting because it's like it's the one time when you're eating something, you're like, is it worth this? Like you might buy a piece of clothing and you figure it out before you do it. But eating is like you know you're gonna pay even if it wasn't worth the price.
Yes. There's some stuff like when I'm trying to like figure out if something's really truly worth the price, it's like, can I make this myself? Like there's some stuff that's truly pure convenience, you know, but I went to a restaurant once and there was like $3 to add one egg to the meal. It was like every additional egg is like $3. And I was like, fuck that. Like I like really couldn't do it. I was like, I will never pay $3 for one over easy egg. That is not right. So, like, there's some stuff I think I'll never move on.
And you've been, like, baking. You've been baking bread and all different, like, yummy goodies, right?
I've been baking a lot of bread. Not right now, though. It was, like, when I wasn't working because I started a new job 3 weeks ago, I think. What is time? And, like, when I wasn't working, I just made bread every weekend, which was, like, really nice. Everybody really got in a sourdough mode vibe, but like I don't want like a bunch of loaves of sourdough at my house. I don't like that bread enough to just like make a bunch of it. So like I'm like a real yeast roll bitch. Like I like that high sugar content like Hawaiian roll.
I love a good Hawaiian roll. Like my mom got me on those, and there's a hot dog place. Oh, what's it called? That uses, instead of buns, it uses 3 Hawaiian rolls, and then they put the hot dog in the middle.
Oh, yeah. I want that. That's something I'm
somewhere in LA. I forget what it's called.
I'll have to find it. I'll look it up. But I fucking love that.
It's definitely like one of those things is like, you can't look at the calories, you just got to eat it because it's delicious, though. It's amazing.
3 Hawaiian rolls is pretty wild. Put a hot dog in there. Yeah, I fucking love that sweet, soft bread that tastes like candy. So that's what I've been making, like croissant rolls and shit like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen your stuff and I'm like super impressed. I can do stuff, but like I'm not like huge on baking. I'm like a bake out of the box kind of gal. Like,
yeah, it was because I have the time. I think that people have been like, one day open a bakery. And I'm like, no, because it takes so long to make bread. Like, truly, we're really getting a steal for buying loaves of bread for the amount that we buy them. Like, good bread.
Really?
Because, like, yeah, if it's yeast in it, you have to wait, like, hours before you can even cook it. So, like, that's why I haven't been making it. It's because, like, you, like, make the dough, and then you have to let it rise for, like, 75 minutes, and then you knead it again, and then you let it rise again, and then you cook it. It's, like, 3 hours to make anything. So, like, yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't want to do this forever. I only want to do it when I have, like, a Saturday off.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I get that. And wait, so you one of the shows you wrote on, you wrote on Saved by the Bell, right?
I did. I wrote on Saved by the Bell.
And that's coming out in November, right?
November 25th. We finally got a date. It's coming out on Black Friday, so everyone will be available to watch it.
That's so cool. I mean, that's very interesting to take a show that was something back, 20 years ago?
30 years ago.
30 years
ago. Yeah.
30 years ago, and now, and some of the original cast came back, because I know the guy that plays Zach Morris, he's on Mixed-ish, right?
Yes. Mark Paul Gosselaar.
I can't pronounce his last name, so that's why I just said
Mark
the guy that plays Zach.
Is the person who plays Zach Morris. He's coming back. We have Mario Lopez, who plays Slater.
Who hasn't aged. Like, what does he do?
Aged.
Do you know? What does he do?
Great. Well, he also is like, he's the busiest person. Like, he has a radio show on like iHeartRadio. So he's up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, does that radio show, does like Entertainment Weekly, whatever the NBC that show is. He does that. Before COVID, he was doing red carpets and all that kind of stuff, and then he would come to set and do his show, and then do our show. So it's like he's the busiest. Like, he's keeping it tight because he's running around LA all the time. So he's back. Elizabeth Berkley's back, who plays Jessie Spano. Tiffany Amber Thiessen comes back. She plays Kelly Kapowski. Mm-hmm. So we got a lot of people who came back who are, but then it's about the new kids. So like, we have like a whole cast of 6 new kids that will be like our primary focus. But it's really cool. It was like a really awesome experience, and like kind of to turn that show kind of on its head, because it was like very white.
Looking back, I mean, what I like is how they've changed. So, like, I don't know if you've seen the Babysitters Club on Netflix, but
yes, I have. Claudia is an icon.
So I think that their remake is done so well, and they kept it true to the series, but contemporized it and made it more modern, and obviously more, talking about issues that are more today, and still keeping true to the series. Because I was a nerd. I read the books. Like, I went to New York when I was 9, and at the FAO Schwartz, for some reason, Anne M. Martin was there signing books, and I was like, she was like my idol. I was like, I have a picture of me and her signing a book for me.
So cute.
That was like my movie star, because I was such a nerd. I read so many books. I had read so many of her books at the time. And looking back, she probably had some ghostwriters, but there's like 200 books. So
I love that. Yeah, I watched Babysitter's Club. Claudia, I stand. She's a real ass bitch. I love it. This show has been really great. One of our writers, I don't know if anyone's watched it was like a Funny or Die thing called Zach Morris's Trash.
Yes. I followed that because I was so smart.
One of the writers, his name's Dashiell Driscoll, he is in the writer's room, and like Zach Morris is the shit that he did in that show is not going to fly in our show. Like, I think it's really cool that we have the heart of the show, which is like friends in high school kind of coming of age together and growing. But like you said, it is very contemporary. There's not going to be like a weird bikini contest of 16-year-old girls. We're not doing that shit anymore. But I think it's really fun. I feel like sometimes you can I always say like too woke for your own good. I think we find a really nice balance of like it really being like fun, campy, and nostalgic, but also like up to date with what's happening with our cast. Who is like very multicultural, and it's like really cool. I think it's like I think people will like the show. I think it's funny. I think people will like it.
That's awesome. No, and I will say I liked the Zach Morris's Trash, and I haven't listened to it, but I heard that Mark started a podcast with the person that did that.
Yes, they have a podcast.
And I was like, that is awesome. Just as a person who's like, that's the role he got famous on, and he saw somebody did this whole thing, Zach Morris's Trash. He's like, well, that's already been done, but I want to do something else with and collaborate with this person.
I think that ego can really bring you down. It can. And he's not like a lesser man, I truly believe, would have been like, fuck Dashiell. Fuck this new show. I don't like it. But he's like, hey man, I was 16. That kid did suck. Let's talk about it. I'm a grown man with children. I am not like upset. And I think it's really cool because that character is very iconic, but also as many things that were iconic in the 70s, 80s, 90s, problematic. And he is fully open to being like, yeah, call me out on that. Let's talk about it. I think it's really cool.
Well, I think it's really cool to change that format because a lot of it was always like him doing a scheme and, and that's the same thing with friends. It's like lying to your friends. Like, we don't like real friends don't lie and like don't hide shit. So it's interesting to try to find comedy, I think, within the scenarios when you're not doing that. Because I feel like the typical sitcom that we think of growing up are crazy situations where people are trying to, you know, like lie or take advantage or whatever. And so I think it's really cool. It shows a lot of strength in writing when people can find scenarios that are still funny, but way more real in how we treat people.
Yeah, and doesn't have to drag anybody under the bus in order to get there, which I think is great. Like, we don't, in order for our characters to like thrive, we don't have to like be terrible to some extra or series like guest that we only see one time. It's like, oh, I know how Zach will learn a lesson. Let's let him be terrible to this girl. And then we never see her again and he'll grow. And it's like, we don't have to use people like that to grow our characters. I think it's really cool.
That's awesome. Do you find it hard writing for kids that are teenagers and try to get their language and like...
No, because it's not too much. It's not too bad. Also, we like get input from the kids who are on the show. Like, we'll be like, you say this? Like, you know what I mean? Even if I know the lingo or whatever, like some stuff sounds weird coming out of certain characters' mouths. You know what I mean? So like we always try to like talk to the cast and like we do a lot of takes. So like we could be like, if that doesn't feel like something that will come out of your mouth, you can say whatever you want.
Oh, that's yeah.
It works. But we do a pretty good job of making sure things are right. We also have like my friend Marcos is is a writer. And he's like young. He's like 24. So he also is like our resident like Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, can we say this? He'll be like, that's not cool. And we'll be like, cool.
My roommate is bordering. I think he's about like Gen Z is like, I think he can kind of remember 9/11, but like not that much, you know. So he's like younger. So I like can check with him. I'm like, well, is this you know?
Is this a cool song?
It's amazing because it's not that far difference in terms of age, but it's like for some reason
culturally, I think it's very different in a good way. Mm-hmm. Like they are all just like cool and queer and open. And
I love
that. And like we were all like closeted and trying to stay alive. I think that they have a lot more freedom, which I think is awesome. I'm so happy that they get to like be themselves. Like so many of the millennials I know truly are themselves, but like they like graduated high school, graduated college, moved to a city, and then we're like, now I can be who I am. And I feel like Gen Z is like, when they're 13, they're like, this is who I am. I'm going to high school like this. And I'm like, yes, you don't have to move away from your small town to be your most authentic self. Well, some places you do. Yeah. But I think that generation has the opportunity to be themselves much more like sooner than a lot of the people that we grew up with.
And yesterday, I think, was it yesterday that was like National Coming Out Day, I think?
Yeah.
So like, I think that that's like really cool that people are recognizing that, or even like just the conversations and the awareness, like my nephew who's 15 and lives outside of Lexington, Kentucky in like a smaller town. And the fact that he's very aware, but that's because he's in choir and he's got a gay choir teacher who's married to a man, and he, you know, like, and just the fact that he's so much more aware of all that stuff, it's really awesome to see just in terms of the education. My sister's done a great job with also educating him about the difference of like bisexual, you know, and like all these things, which some people still don't get. They're like, oh, they think some people just have silly questions because they don't understand, and that's okay.
I also think that Gen Z also has the beauty and the horror of the internet. Because like us growing up, like if you were like, I think I'm gay, but like you didn't have the words for it or you didn't know, you couldn't like look up on the internet and be like, do boys like other boys? Like now, I think that there is like so much information out there that could be helpful and harmful too. But I do think that like if you have a question, like you could Google it on your phone And I think that could get you a long way. Like just knowing that like, oh, representation is out there. Someone like me is out there. The little box on my phone told me that I'm not alone. I think that could be really, really helpful.
Or even having characters in TV that represent certain things. Like, like I'm bi, but I didn't realize that till after college. Like I joined like Lit Club because I had a crush on this girl in high school. I just like being around her. I was like, I don't know. She just makes me so happy. And I never understood why until...
It's like every girl I know is like, that girl was my best friend. And it's like, okay. It's like, if you're 13, you're like, oh, we were best friends. And then you're like 26 and you're like sitting in your house. You're like, wait a minute. That's how I felt about T-Boz from...
I had her book of poems. She had a book of poems.
I love T-Boz so much. I went to a party, like she was performing like TLC, RIP Left Eye. It was Chili and T-Boz were performing. And I was like watching them perform. And I was like, oh my God. I always thought T-Boz was the coolest person on the planet. And like, as I was watching her perform like 20 years later, I was like, oh no, I just had a full blown crush on T-Boz. Like, I didn't even realize it because I just remember being like, dang, she's cool. She's the coolest person. Crazy, sexy, cool. T-Boz is so cool. And I was like 30 and I was like, oh my God, I loved her. She was cool and hot and I didn't know what to say, but it was so funny. I like watched her perform and I was like, I'm in love with T-Boz.
I think that's funny. It's an interesting realizations to have.
Yeah, I just remember being like, damn, she's the coolest person. She's so cool. And then I got older and I was like, that's not what cool meant. That's not what I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have the words for it.
We didn't have the language for it. We didn't quite understand it or didn't see it enough. And that's why I think TV writing is so important to have that representation and all that. And the new show you're writing on too is Amber Rufflin Show, right? That's like
Amber Rufflin Show, yes.
And we also know Dwayne. Dwayne's on it. That's so cool.
I love working with him. He's like one of my best friends in the whole world. And like when we were both in New York together, depressed, and we were always like, one day we'll work on a show together. We don't know which one. And like this is like a dream come true, truly, for us to be working together. It's so fun. Yeah, it's like the best.
I mean, like, and he moved out here too, right? Did you guys?
Yeah, he moved. I can't remember if it was before or after me. Like everything like all blends together, but we moved around the same time. Yes. So, we're both out here in LA working for a show that's in New York.
Hey, COVID allows different opportunities, which is fun.
It truly does. I mean, like, there's so much going on because of COVID that is like completely, truly awful. And there's also just like, it's interesting, like the opportunities that it has opened for people because like you don't have to move to some city you hate to work. And I think that people are in cities now because they're like, oh, I can only be a software engineer if I'm in Silicon Valley. And it's like, you could go to Kentucky. You could go somewhere else and do a lot of these jobs that they've inherently told us are not remote. Like you have to be in New York to be a playwright. And it's like, maybe you could stay in Georgia and be a playwright in New York for right now. So I think it's been really cool to like, we work. I would always say like as a comedian, like working in 30 Rock is like a dream, you know?
Yeah.
And like I work in 30 Rock and have not set foot in the building. So I think it's very interesting, like the opportunity that was able to arise because of what's happening right now. Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's pretty cool though. And like, I'm enjoying the Amber Rufflin show so far. I think it's like really fun. And
she's really fun. She's just like a fun person. Like,
I feel like you seem to work with like, because I feel like, I don't know Busy Phillips, but like from what I listen to the podcast and see on she seems like a really fun person too.
Yes.
Like, I feel like you just like kind of attract really fun bosses.
If you can work for like a fun, nice lady, hey, out there, do it. Like some of my best bosses, same thing for Saved by the Bell, Tracy Wickfield is like a really fun, talented, nice woman. And it's like, wow, like, my experiences with bosses who have been like women has been incredible. It's been great. It's been a wonderful experience. So like, shout out to the lady bosses who know what they're doing. It's been really cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, like, I hope that would be very cool. I'm still a pre-WGA, but like working on that
It's
stuff.
coming. I mean, I think that the world is opening so much for to be able to work. I
Yeah.
think that there is work being done, especially right now in
Mhm.
like 2021, let's go. 2020, let's go. There,
I know.
television's not going anywhere.
People
And
were relied on content to get through this. So it's like,
yeah,
we know we're going to keep TV shows going because this is literally what got people through this is entertainment.
yeah,
So it's
they're
not,
still doing it. They're still making. Even Saved by the Bell production was halted in May.
ah,
So like we couldn't finish production of the show because it was supposed to come out over the summer. It's supposed to be like a summer show, but then like what is supposed to anything right now, you know? So in the last couple of weeks, they were able to finish the last few episodes, and then like the show's coming out in November. But TV can happen. You just like make sure that the people you work for care about you, so
yeah,
that they take precautions to make sure
yeah,
you're safe. Like nobody got sick on our sets, and it was like because our leadership was really strong, and I think that that's what it comes down to. The government, whatever the show that you're on that makes the TV, if you have really strong leadership that like cares about the people who work for you,
mhm.
like you can get stuff done. Yeah,
That's awesome. Can
yeah.
I ask how you got your first writing job?
My first writing job. Okay, so I the first writing job I ever had was a sketch variety show on BET called 50 Central, which was a show produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. He was the person who spearheaded that show. And I was working for Second City on a resident stage. I was on main stage, and representatives from ICM, which is just like a
Mhm.
big agency for people listening who don't know, came and they were like, "We think you're talented. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to write for television. I want to be on TV. If you can help me do that, that'd be great." So then they sent me packets, like for people who don't know, we always say on Busy's podcast Hollywood Break, and it's like if you work for a television show, like they will send you like a packet full of stuff, and they'll ask you to write. So for this particular show, they asked for monologue jokes. They asked for sketches.
Mhm.
So I wrote a bunch of monologue jokes. I wrote a bunch of sketches, and then the agents that I had freshly acquired from ICM sent that completed packet to the showrunner, and he really liked it, and I got hired, and I moved to New York.
That's
That May of 2017 is when I moved to New York for my first TV writing gig. But that's how I got that job. Was like I sent in a packet, they read them blind, and they liked my stuff. That's the
That's
first job I
awesome.
got.
That's cool. And knowing that they read them blind too, because I've gone through a couple of those, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, I submit SNL this summer and like, you know, like I've done Conan before, but like, you know, just, it's just good to like, I think it's a good habit too, to just like,
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, they read them blind, and then I got that job, and then I didn't work for a year. It's fucking sucked. It's really hard out there. Like this last 2 years have been I've been really fortunate to like work to have jobs, but like I from like September 2017 till September 2018, I taught improv workshops. That's it.
Ah,
I
wow.
did not have a TV writing job for a year. And I think that it's really important for people to know that like people don't be working all the time.
Well, that's something I've realized too, is sometimes writers, they'll like write for a show and then they'll be on unemployment for like 3 or 4 months and then like they're
Yeah,
back on the
I
show.
did this year. I wrote for Saved by the Bell from September till May, and then I just started a new job 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like I didn't work for almost 6 months. I was on unemployment. Like I think that there is this like people get really excited because it's like it's TV, but it's also like it's gig. This is a gig economy. Even
Yeah.
when you work on a pretty major TV show, there's no show that just writes for a year.
Yeah.
Like LA in New York, the industry shuts down December and January.
Mhm.
Everybody goes on vacation. So that's 2 months out of the year right there that you ain't working. And then like most shows, I want to say like contracts are like 13 weeks to 30 weeks, I guess. You give me like 6 months of steady work. And then after that, you got to find another job. And even if that show is picked up for another season, it might be like 2, 3, 4 in the middle of this pandemic, 6 months before you get another gig. So yeah, I didn't work straight up, did not write for TV for a year. And I just taught improv workshops all over the country. That's what I did for pretty much all of 2018 until I got busy tonight. Yeah.
That's awesome, using your skills you learned in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that one of the things that I truly believe is just that, like, you can't let this work like define you. Like, I think I'm funny. I think I'm a good writer and I write, but like, if I never got a writing gig ever again, like, I have a good life. I have like I have like good friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to work at the Apple store again. I'm not afraid to fold clothes. And I think that if you just like don't hold on too tight and know that, like, when you get the work, have fun, enjoy it. But if you don't get the work, that doesn't mean you're a bad writer. I think that that's really important because, like, it's a crapshoot out here, man. It's fucking hard. So, like, don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. I know it. And everyone's like, it takes time, and like opportunities like take a few, it takes a while. So I get that.
Even if you have I'm in the WGA. I had my first writing job. Couldn't get another job for a year, dude. So I think that that's a thing too, that like, when you're like, is it just hard for me? The game is hard. It's like hard to get work, but just know that like, you're a good writer. You can still say that you're a writer. You don't have to have a job to consider yourself a writer. And that like, even when you get the gig, just know that like, it might take a minute before you get another one, but like, you're still like a good person and you should enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So save those checks and keep those residual checks at a savings and be prepared for that.
You get residuals. Ooh, I did not get any residuals. I wish I got some residuals.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite how all that works. I know that now with streaming, it's like totally different. So I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. If you figure it out, you let me know, and then I'll tell Peacock.
Thank you for all the insight in that. Like I said, I haven't been in a room yet, like I've been in rooms where we've like written sketches and stuff, but like not like a writer's room. But and that was like a show at IO. What?
You ask me anything, I don't care. I'll tell you anything. This it's not real.
How do you feel about Chicago, both Second City and IO being up for sale?
All right, cool, dude. Yeah. I think that these institutions need to have better leadership, leadership that is more representative of what comedy is, more representative of like the landscape of America. You know what I mean? I think that like when I worked at Second City, I still got to do like a first Black thing. If you have been around for 60 years and you still have a thing where like a Black person can be the first to do something, you are bad at your job. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Me and LaShawn Scott were the first 2 Black women to ever be on main stage at the same time. That was 2016. I didn't realize. It's the first time 2 Black women had ever been on main stage at the same time. Wow. And then when I was touring 2016, 2015, I was on the most diverse touring company of all time.
That was with, was that with Monk and Sonia Denise?
Oh, no, that was Afrofuturism. But like my touring company, when I was like on Redco, it had like 4 POC and 2 white people. And that was the most diverse touring company in the history of Second City.
Wow.
That was 2015. So I think that them selling, I don't think selling is the same as selling out. Sharna ran out of money. So that closing is like, she ain't got no money. That's what's happening in the pandemic. Like restaurants are closing. Sharna does not have any income, so they had to close. Second City is selling, but like I think that like those institutions are closing closing. Improv's not going anywhere. The art's not going anywhere. The people who make the art good aren't going anywhere. But I do think that them being sold is really important because there are people who are like lagging, like sticking around who should fucking be gone. Do you know what I mean? And because so much of improv, that institution is like a hierarchy of time. Like, oh, they were here when Tina Fey was here. They must be good. And it's like,
if they were good with it, maybe they would have.
If they were so good, maybe they wouldn't still be here. So I think that there is an aspect of like, I'm really looking forward to like new people being in charge, teaching, letting the art expand in a way that it has never expanded for the marginalized. But like, if the only people teaching are old white men, then I don't think we need any improv. Like, if that is all we have to offer, then let it fucking burn.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I really hope that kind of a collective of like previous students that are successful or something kind of buys it or something and creates kind of their new way of doing it that matches with what's going on now and what needs to happen and representative, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. And I think that people are doing that and they will do that. And when things come back, it'll just be like really cool artists making space for other cool, like queer POC. Like, I'm really excited to see what we do because art never fucking dies. You know what I mean? I think that we just won't have a bar on Wells Street to do it, but somebody else will make it. It's okay. I think we'll be okay.
And still there's the annoyance, which I've always loved because I felt like that's been less of the like cult mentality. It's been like, hey, you got a cool show, pitch it and we'll run it and we'll do something fun and we'll do.
That was like my favorite bar was, I love the annoyance because truly, this is just like the Chicago in me, is I really love annoyance because there weren't like weird stakes. Like at IO, everyone's like, I have to make a Herald team. And at Second City, everyone's like, I've got to get on main stage. But there is like no touring company and there is no resident stage at Annoyance. It's truly just like people putting up shows that they think are fun. And I think that breeds an environment for learning that allows people to be their most authentic selves. I think that if you're in a class and you're like, what does the Herald Commission want? What do the people who pick the cast of the cruise ship, what do they want? You don't like grow into like the type of comedian that you might have become naturally. And I found that when I was taking classes at the Annoyance, what I was there for was to learn how to be an improviser and maybe pitch a show that I wanted to do there. I didn't do stuff at Annoyance because I thought Lorne Michaels was coming in the fall. So I think that that's really cool. So before I always told people to play everywhere, but I mean like Annoyance is really great because like the stakes are like, how good can I be at this thing as opposed to who's coming this summer to see me? I wonder if I should change everything about me so that NBC likes me.
And then there's that whole thing about like Second City Conservatory, like after level 2, you have to re-audition in, and like the fact that people in your team will be like kind of like road run and try to be in every scene so that, you know, and there's all this weird thing that doesn't need to happen.
Yeah. I think that there's a place for all of it. I mean, like even comedy sports, we'll see what happens. Like I learned how to host there. I learned how to do a clean show there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Short form is how you make money. That's where you go do for corporate stuff. So I think that there's a place for everything, and everything will find its place when we eventually get to go back into the world. But I think there's a lot of people who really love the art, really love theater, and that we'll always find a way for like really good ones to like make a way. So.
Yeah. Like I'm actually, what you said about art earlier, I'm really excited to see all the cool art that will come out of this pandemic.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like, you know, you got people that are, you know, you don't have to be productive with art in quarantine. Let me first say that. Cause I know for a while people were like, well, Shakespeare wrote, King Lear, whatever play he wrote, like during quarantine. I'm just like, you don't have to do that, but I am excited to see what kind of unique art kind of comes from this experience.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people learned a lot about themselves, which really makes for great art when they come out. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to do a lot of bread stuff now, which is like art that like is great for me, So
and whoever you're seeing too, like I think that's like a good what's a perk? Oh, I can make you some awesome bread,
Yeah,
like that's.
I truly think that it's really cool to see what people have gotten in touch with, like people who used to paint went back to painting, people who used to write went back to writing because they gave us space to do it. Like you had to be home for some people, just had to be home, So I'm excited to see what passion projects people really like sunk their teeth into. I'm also like, I hope people just like took care of themselves in a new way. Like, I know I like upped my therapy. I was like, Carla, we got to meet twice a month. We can't meet once a month anymore. So I think that everybody hopefully got to make themselves a little better in some way, which I think.
Yeah, I think having to be alone so much, especially as an extrovert, like it really makes you look at yourself and how you want to be and how you are and the people. I've also realized it's really made me more selective about the people I want to be around.
Absolutely. There are some people I think about, like, this goes back to also like fucking the improv institutions. Like you'd be like, I guess I'll swing by this bar. Like I'll swing by this bar to just like hang out. But I'm not doing that no more. Like, I'm not swinging by shit. I'm not swinging by no bar. I'm not going to a birthday party of somebody I kind of like that I kind of know. Like, this has really solidified the types of relationship because it's life or death. Like, am I going to swing by a bar and get COVID from some girl that I like met at a party 3 weeks ago who sent me a Facebook invite? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? So I think that it has really solidified relationships that like, it's like, oh, this was my close friend. It's like, oh, this is a person that like would go get a COVID test and I went and got a COVID test. And then we went and did a social distance picnic in the park together. Like that type of relationship has only strengthened. And then it's kind of people that you are like kind of fucked with. And you see they're just like out in these streets and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like when the world does come back, I don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's totally, I think that's been really good because as someone who, like, I would be out doing things like every night, like going to clubs, hanging out. And it's like, it's a very different atmosphere. And it's like nice because I'm like, okay, who do I really enjoy spending time? And even there are some people that I love that maybe, are a bit more social than I'm comfortable with, but we FaceTime all the time. We chat, we hang out, like, and like, I got my outdoor friends and my indoor friends. Like I got like lots of friends. Like I'll be like, let's meet up and go on a hike. And we're masked the whole time. And we like hike together. We get to chat, we get exercise and hang out. And then like, I got like 4 indoor friends that I like.
I think that it really has solidified like who your crew is, for what, and like even like your relationship is like, if I'm really feeling sad, who am I going to FaceTime right now? You know what I mean? Who's reaching out to me? And it's like our relationships have really like developed in a very special way, I think, because of like the way that we have to like be inside, or the way that like we can't fly to Chicago. Like a friend of mine, I just had a FaceTime chat with him last weekend. And he was like, oh, we haven't talked in like a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, because I used to go to Chicago like 4 times a year. And I would just see him. And like every 3 or 4 months, we would just like get like brunch or like hang out. And those would be those conversations. But he was like, yeah, we haven't talked in like 8 months. And I was like, oh shit, yeah. Because like our relationship was like me visiting Chicago and us hanging out. And it's like, oh, there's some relationships you have to like revamp because of what you were used to doing. I was like, oh, we have to like FaceTime every couple months instead of me just like showing up because I'm not flying there. So I think that, you just kind of like reevaluate your priorities and then also like be like, oh, this is what I'm willing to do. This is what I want to do to like talk to this person or see this person. So I think it's like pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the only thing is like with the dating during COVID, it's like I haven't seen anybody in a dating set. I'm like, like, like you're all right. I don't know if I want to,
Yeah, it's
like I'd rather be alone right now, which is like something I thought I would never say. Like I was somebody who used to like date two people at once, like all the time, they knew about each other.
Thriving.
But
thriving. Yes, you were thriving. Absolutely. And I think that's too, like hookup culture is like, I love it. I want everybody to be a hoe, but I want you to be safe. So I think that has also people just being like, ugh, I'll just go out with this person and see. It's like people aren't doing that. People are like, I'm not going out with you unless we like each other, like for real. So I think that that's interesting too, how people have like, you actually are doing stuff that you really want to do as opposed to stuff that you're like, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah. Instead of being like half-assed or half into something, you're either like all in or be like me, where I'm like, I got stuff I'm working on. I'm going to be by myself for a little bit.
Yeah. I fully support that fucking shit, man. Hell yeah. I completely agree.
It's like I got scripts to write, I got shows to watch, I got friends, like
your priorities become really solidified. Also, I think that it during the pandemic has really allowed like women to like be like no. Or like to be like, I don't want to do that. Because I think that we are like conditioned a lot of times to be like so nice, or like, oh, maybe you could just be like, I have a weak immune system and I'm not going. And like people will be like, okay. Like I feel like women could just be like, no.
And I found myself doing things like one of my friends' birthdays or something happened and they were at an outdoor bar, but like I went to meet my friend and I thought it was going to be him and one other person, but there were like three other people at the table. So I sat at a different table across from them. I'm like, I'm just going to sit over here so I can take my mask off. I'm 6 feet away.
Yes.
I'm still going to talk to you. I know it feels weird, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to stay.
Yeah. And I genuinely think that like 8 months ago, like you might have been like, I guess I'll, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I think that it really gives us the opportunity to take control in a way that maybe we wouldn't have before, where it's just like, I'm not super concerned about what everyone thinks about me. I'm more concerned about like what I think is the best for me and my well-being. Yeah. Because it's like before, even if you were really tired, I keep bringing up bars, but like I have for sure been like, oh, I'm so tired, but like I told them I'd go, so like I'm just gonna go. But like now there is none of that. It's like we only do stuff that we're really serious about because like it's dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's what's cool about it. But then there's lots of stuff I miss that I can't wait to do when things are back. Like
yes, 100%. I love eating in restaurants. I love that. I love trying new stuff. I used to go to, I'm like a real concert bitch. I used to go to like 2 or 3 a month. Oh, wow. I love concerts. Yeah, I would go all the time. So like I've really been missing like music. I really love like supporting like local artists.
No.
So like I was really bummed. Also like the beauty of living in a major city, New York, Chicago, and LA too, is like if I like am on my Spotify discovery playlist and I listen to a song, I'll be like, this person's cool. I just go to their website. They're fucking coming to the city in the next 6 months. Like I know I'll be able to see them. So it's been kind of a bummer to be like, oh man, my one of my favorite artists released a new album. They're not touring it. I'm not going to see it. It like is a bummer for me. So I really want to be able to like go to concerts again.
They're doing some drive-in and social distance concerts, which seems like it's working, but it's obviously different. Like I went to one of my friends, I went to the Magic Castle comedy show last night, and that's like different. They give you like these hand clappers.
Yeah.
And it's like you put them out the window and it's just a clap, you like hold them and clap when you're like, and they light up like when you're supposed to be laughing so the comic can see it. So that's kind of like the laughter. But it's like
so different. Yeah.
Still awkward, but I mean, they're trying to do what they can. But
yeah, it's like so much stuff we took for granted. I went to Magic Castle for my birthday last year and it was so fun. But it's like, I like close up magic.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that anymore. So it's like,
did they do the lime trick?
Oh, no, he didn't. I did like close up card tricks, but I've seen the lime trick at a wedding. So and it's like, Damn, I wish.
I took my mom and we got to sit like on the stage with the dude, you know, like in the place. So like both of us were seeing all the perspectives. We're just like, how the hell does he do this? We don't know.
I fucking loved it. I love that. So that's the kind of stuff I missed that I really liked, but we'll be back on it. We'll be back on our bullshit one day.
We will be. I think people will start to appreciate, and I think people are really gonna I miss performing. You know, I've basically been 6 months not doing stand-up, just doing like Zoom stuff, and I don't know how well. I think sketch, I think characters, I think comedy music, I think storytelling can all translate via Zoom. Stand-up, not nearly as much.
Yeah, I think we've all found a way to make our art and thought of new ways to really keep doing it when we're able to, like, do it the way we want to. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll be okay, but damn, I can't wait till we get to go outside.
But that's why
we really go outside.
I'm so glad I'm in LA though, because it's gonna be warm over the winter, and I won't be as like paranoid as I would somewhere else. And
yeah, I like it. I'm happy I'm in LA. I love it here, and good luck to all of us. I think we can do it. We've been doing it. Vote blue.
I know. Vote, please vote. Like blue. I have hope for that. I do. I've got a little bit of hope.
If we vote blue, I think we'll be able to get out of it sooner.
Well, as we're winding down the podcast, I always usually ask people sleep theme, but what your dreams are for like the future for yourself.
The future for myself. I think that I want to continue enjoying work, but also continuing to enjoy the new things that are coming up in life, you know, like not outside of work, but like, oh, I discovered I like baking bread, or like, oh, discovered I like to journal. And I think being open to new discoveries, I think, about things that I might have written off for myself. I think that that's what I'm really excited for in the new year. And I think that I'm really excited for this election. I think that we're going to get America to a place that like everybody can be really proud of us again.
And we're not going to be exhausted by the news cycle.
I mean, imagine the type of art that will come from a generation of people who isn't desperately trying to stay alive all the time.
No, man.
The survivor mode that we've been in for the last 4 years, and to wake up, every day I wake up and I look at my phone and I'm like, is somebody bad dead yet? And I would love to wake up and be like, oh, like our president is like not actively trying to kill people like me. So I think that I'm looking forward to the art, to the lifestyle, to the pure, unadulterated joy that will come from waking up and having a decent person be in charge.
I think those are great dreams. Well, thank you.
That's who I am.
Thanks so much for doing the podcast. We always end by saying good night. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Shantira Jackson. Be sure to check out the shows Shantira is writing for: Saved by the Bell on Peacock and the Amber Rufflin Show, also on Peacock. Check out the podcast Busy Phillips is Doing Her Best. And follow Shantira on social at Tira_Tira_Tira. If you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. I'll be releasing a new podcast each week, so tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. A big thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. If you want to find out more about me, go to sleepysarah.com or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.